Braxten Nielsen is your cowboy. Former Union Cougar right here, getting ready to ride.
I think everybody wants to grow up and be a cowboy, right? My career started off, I think how every rodeo athlete starts off a little smaller, but it started off a little different. I was 22, started off at amateur level, where I climbed kind of in the amateur level pretty fast, which helped me get a scholarship at Weber State University, and I transferred to College of Southern Idaho. Probably one of the biggest mentors I've had, Casey Field. He showed a lot of interest in me, believed in me. The rodeo, it's a big family. It's a big family, and it was pretty neat accepting and having that mentorship to help me get involved in rodeo. In high school, I had friends that rodeoed and competed, and it always kind of had my interest.
Braxten was always interested in the rodeo. He loved the idea of it. He came down and got on some steers, even got on a few bulls, and was in love with it. His mom and dad were not in love with the idea of it whatsoever.
I told him, you know what, Braxten, there truly isn't a doubt in my mind that you can go all the way, but why?
He was an amazing basketball player, amazing at whatever he tried to do, that I knew that he'd be successful. Now, when he said that he was going to ride broncs, that was kind of like a, why are you doing that?
He had all of these scholarships to go play basketball and football, and so he told us now that he wanted to go and try the rodeo world, and at first I was like, why would you give up being an athlete to go run with all the cowboys? And the way that he looked at rodeo, you could tell that there was a huge passion and drive in his eyes that he still had with basketball and football, but it was a complete different look with rodeo.
Yeah, this grabbed him, got his attention, and it was a challenge, and he was ready for it.
He's naturally gifted of an athlete as you could imagine, but he has work ethic. You know, you see one or the other, and hard work always trumps talent when talent doesn't work, but Braxten had talent and work. You know, it was perfect scenario.
You know, your body's your moneymaker in a sense. You've got to work out, stay really fit, exercising every day. You know, your body does take a beating, and you have to be able to perform 3 nights in a row. It was neat. Got kind of some recognition from the Wall Street Journal, just the work ethic that goes behind it, not necessarily in the arena, but all the work that took outside the arena to make things happen inside the arena. I think what I admire most about the rodeo aspect and these competitors is you've got to be tough. It teaches you how to be tough. You got to compete with the bruises, the pains, and just like life, you got to keep going through life with the bumps and the bruises. You can't stop. I ended up 8th in the nation, and that was kind of a launching pad, really, where I think I got my confidence. I bought my permit and started rodeoing competitively in the PRCA against, you know, some amazing athletes.
You could see his passion and love for it and wanted to be part of that, and was successful.
Braxten makes the college finals, and he's starting to ride professionally, and he's 6-8 months away from being an NFR contender. And for a guy that's just started 2.5 years prior to that point, like, that's phenomenal.
I was climbing the standings in the wilderness circuit, you know, still had a lot to learn, and I'd like to think that, man, I was progressing to make it to one of the, you know, the elite level. I'd still like to think that, but it doesn't matter what I think. Life happens.
I just knew it was so bad.
I was the first cowboy out. They come up and said, Braxten, you're going to start us off tonight, so good luck. I was jacked. I was excited. Had a really awesome horse drawn, and Sozo was the name of the horse, and he was I remember being really excited for the opportunity to kind of perform at an awesome rodeo. I climbed over the buck and chute, got my hand set in my rigging handle, and like I've done 100 times, you know, you nod your head or you say, like, how do I say, let her buck. They open the gate, and that's when, in a blink of an eye, things change. As the gate opened up, Sozo reared up and lost the traction, kind of her back feet, so she completely lost balance. And I remember my shoulder blades hitting the back of the chute, and this horse's mane kind of hit me in the face. And I remember a pop sound going off, and in my mind I was thinking, I just broke my back.
And if you can imagine, the wall of that buck and chute is steel, and just fold him in half.
And my feet, everything just kind of shut down. My hand was still attached to the rigging, so, you know, the gate's open, Sozo gets back to her feet, and as she leaves, all I could think was like, get your hand out of the rigging.
Comes out of the chute, and you can tell immediately he's hurt. You know, he's still on the horse. His hand's bound in that rigging. You can't actually, the way they set that glove up in the bareback ride, your hand can't come out until you open it and jerk it out. You know, as long as it's shut, you're locked in.
And I tried reaching up, trying to pop my hand out of the rig, and it finally gave, and I did a little flip, and I remember landing on the ground. I couldn't move sitting there, and I remember waving at my buddies behind the chute like, hey, help me, I'm hurt, something's wrong. And panic mode went in. I finally had one of my rodeo coaches was there too. Kelly ran up. Joe Frost, my good buddy, ran to me. A couple guys ran out to me and was asking me what was going on. And I just told them my back. I think I broke my back. I'm a little more panicked than that. I think I broke my back. I can't feel my toes. Help me.
He is not moving, and so I go ahead and jump over the chute and run out there. And at this point, they've got the horse out of the way, and he's freaking out. I'm dying, I'm paralyzed. And of course, you know, in the moment, you're not paralyzed, you're not dying, you're fine.
And they tried to remove the protective gear, the shaps, the spurs, my boots off. And as they were moving my shaps off my leg, they kind of twisted my leg a little bit, and it must have hit a nerve or something in my back. And it felt like a lightning bolt hit me between the ears in my back, like that's when the pain started, and I really knew something was wrong.
And I'm on top of all this. I'm sitting here thinking, his mom and dad are going to kill me. I'm the one that got him into this. You know, clear back in high school, I'm the one that told him it was a good idea.
Joe Frost was the one that gave me a call. I remember exactly driving home from doing chores at the farm, feeding cows, and Joe was really good. Said, "Hey, Rick, Braxton's been in an accident up in the rodeo," and he was really calm and helped me to didn't make it feel like it was a really big deal, but said I think he broke his back, and the ambulance came and kind of told us the history and what was going on. And again, it was calming knowing that, you know, he had Joe there and a couple of his main buddies and stuff, that he had support and friends there. So that was a relief.
I knew that Braxten had a rodeo that night, and I was waiting to hear how he had finished. He had some big goals that year. I remember my mom saying, Braxten has been in an accident, and sorry, I haven't really talked about it. So all those emotions start coming back. It's weird.
I told Rick I'm packing the bags and I'm going to be gone for a good week. And if you're going to come with me, jump in the car. And I don't know where we're headed, but we're headed that way.
I went to Twin Falls, the local hospital there, where they seen that I had a broken back. My T12 was totally shattered. The L1 was dislocated, vertebrae, and my spinal cord was pinched off severely, and they were, I guess, pretty worried about it. And that's when they made the decision of where to send me, and they sent me to the U of U hospital in Salt Lake City.
They actually looked at the x-rays, the very first x-rays that they showed us, and I knew right there that this wasn't just a back injury, this was a spinal injury. And I was worried. I knew right then there's a big possibility that he wouldn't walk again. When
the surgeon actually did come out after surgery, talked to us that morning after, I think it was 5.5 hour surgery, she come and let us know how everything went, and she was very upbeat and positive about her team and their operation. And I remember asking her, I said, is he going to walk again? She said maybe 5% chance that he'd walk again. And
Yeah, that was hard.
felt like I got kicked by a horse.
What I do remember after the accident would be my dad's voice in this hospital room and my mom's voice. They were talking and I could kind of hear things, kind of like a dream you have, I wasn't quite with it. And just these bright lights kind of in the room being really bright. I couldn't sit up, like my body wouldn't let. So I went to lift my legs to kind of help me to rock myself up. And when my legs didn't lift up, then that's when I really started panicking, yelling for my dad. And my dad showed up above me as I'm laying in this bed. And I couldn't really feel my legs. I couldn't lift them. I'm like, Dad, hey, did the doctors take my legs? And he's like looking at me all composed. I mean, like it wasn't a big deal. And he's, yeah, bud, the doctors took your legs. And I was thinking I pinched some kind of nerve. They had to cut my legs off to save me. Like, I started telling my mom and dad, why'd you let him take my legs? Why'd you let him take them? My mom, bless her heart, she's crying at the bottom of my bed, lifts up my feet, says, hey, your feet they're right here, She's showing me my legs. And my dad's kind of laughing. And he finally got serious with him. And he's like, Brax, hey, your legs are there, buddy. You're fine. And he took my arms, kind of squeezed them. And said, you feel that? I said, yeah, Dad, I can feel that. He says, yeah, you can see me. Buddy, you're still alive. Things are going to be a little different. And then that's when we had a pretty neat moment there. He kind of expressed what happened in my life, with the horse rearing over, broke the T12, and he said, hey, the doctors said that you'll be in a wheelchair for a little bit, buddy, but hey, we got it. I don't know, I guess relate it to any game that I've been prepared for or any rodeo that I talked to my dad to. He'd always just believe in me. It's like, hey, good luck. You got this. Go give it your best. And it's kind of like that in a sense that we got this. You're going to be a little different, but we got it, buddy. Be all right. And Dad's one of my heroes for sure.
In the hospital, he wanted to go down to rehab. He wanted every chance that he could. If someone didn't go to rehab, he's like, I'll take their spot. Sign me up. I want to go down there. And he was getting back into that competitive mindset of, I want to better myself today.
I think I want to say the first 3 days I was in the ICU, and then went down to a level where they were able to take me off the medication a little bit. And then that 5th day is when I met my physical therapist team and got to get down into therapy and go to work. This therapist comes in to my room, first therapist I encountered, and he says, we're gonna go down to therapy, Braxton, let's get ready to go down there. And brings this wheelchair to the edge of my bed, and my dad's sitting on one side. We're kind of learning for the first time how I'm gonna receive help. My whole life I could jump out of bed, felt pretty athletic, but because of that cracked sternum and stuff, I couldn't push myself up. I couldn't really sit up. There's all the muscles in my abs, so I had to rely on somebody to help me sit up. And he says, so put my arm underneath your back, and I'm gonna sit you up, and I'm gonna move your leg slowly, simultaneously you off the bed, and I'll put you over my shoulder, pick you up, put you the wheelchair. And this therapist, he's getting low, and he's putting his arm underneath my back. I grab this therapist by the collar of his shirt, and I'm like, hey, listen to me, before we go down to therapy, I need you to believe me that I'm walking out of this hospital. If you don't believe I'm walking out, then get out of my room and bring in the next therapist that's going to believe in me. And his eyes were pretty big. I'm really not a mean guy. I think I had a little motivation with the pain meds and stuff, but my dad reached over and was grabbing this therapist by the hand, hey, Brad, let go of him. I said, Dad, no, listen. He needs to know, I'm serious. I'm going to learn how to walk again. I have less than a 5% chance, but I've got a chance. And more than anything, I do remember, I wanted the therapist to know, if you're going to be my coach, I want you to believe in me. I'm going to give it all. So believe in me. We had a hometown football game Friday night. And the fans all had a Braxton Tough shirt, and I was number 3 in basketball, football, baseball in high school. They all had a number 3 on there. The whole football team had a number 3. And they had a big prayer circle for me out on the field. within with under 24 hours, this community came together, and it showed a lot of belief in me. And it was like, man, if they believe in me that much, how could I not believe in myself?
Never take a day off.
Braxten put a note on the door that before you entered, that only positive attitudes are to enter this room. So he actually just put that there. Nothing, don't be sorry for me. If you show up and you walk in my room, I want it to be positive. When he'd go down to rehab and I was working through the medical bills, he was being sneaky, and he every day he would take one step more, and he'd take one step more. And he was going to walk, he said he was going to walk out of the hospital.
So the day that I was getting ready to leave the hospital, my therapist came up to my room and helped me, in my wheelchair down to the bottom, and says, we're going to walk down the hall and out of the hospital together. She helps me out of this wheelchair and hands me a walker, and we're getting ready to turn the corner and walk down this hallway that takes us outside. And as I come around the corner, it was neat. I had some family members, but then a bunch of surgeons and the nurses and the physical therapists that have been by my side the whole 2.5 months I was at the hospital lining the halls.
It was incredible because they all cheered for him as he was assisted and he walked.
It was pretty dang neat having that support team and everyone there to celebrate that with me and our accomplishment together walking out of the hospital.
Man, it's so incredible. He worked so hard. That was his goal. That was his whole determination. He was going to prove that he could walk out of that hospital.
We had people in our community from every faith that was praying for him. And I do know that prayers are answered.
We met at his cousin's wedding. I was a bridesmaid for my friend that married his cousin, and we saw each other there. And
I showed up thinking, who's the bridesmaid? I was single, wanting to check out the bridesmaid, and I really thought she was a beautiful gal. Asked my cousin about her. My cousin said, hey, take her on some dates, but she doesn't want any commitment.
On our first date, he came and picked me up, and he drove 2.5 hours to come get me. And on the way out to pick me up, he stopped and pulled over and grabbed the catheter out of the car. And I remember being like, what is that? Like, what is he doing? And then that kind of sparked up the conversation. And then he told me everything after that.
She found out about it the first date we went on. So she didn't know. She thought I had a weird walk, maybe. I had some, I always call it God-given swagger, is what it is. She didn't know about my accident.
I remember our first dance on our wedding night, and it meant a lot more to me than, and I feel like any first dance would have, because knowing the struggles and the obstacles that he had to go through to get to be able to even just do that dance with me.
We had a cool experience when we were dancing at our wedding. Actually, she knew how important rodeo was to me, and like riding bucking horses, like I always had a dream of getting back on a bucking horse. And up to that point, never could. I was working towards it, thought my legs were starting to walk a little better, getting a little stronger. But when we were dancing together at our wedding, she kind of laughed and just said, hey, thanks for working so hard that you're dancing with me. You don't need to ride bucking horses. You can just dance with me. So it's pretty rewarding. I was able to climb back in a saddle on a tame horse quicker than I was able to walk. And whether the doctor liked it or not, I guess I thought it was my therapy. 2 years ago now, entered an amateur rodeo in Santa Quinn, Utah, and was able to actually win the rodeo in the bareback ride and retired. That was my, I hung up the spurs.
I'd never seen him ride before. As soon as he walked into that arena, he just lit up, and you could tell that's where he loves to be. That's his element. He was able to be done after that. I think it really helped him move on, just to do that one last time.
and now I'm able to team rope, and I love being a team rope. I didn't know if I was for sure going to be able to have kids or not. And that little girl is better than any rodeo, you know?
We'll just ride Mojo and Rooster.
That little girl is a rodeo.
And just come down.
She's a miracle. She makes me strive to be a better person every day. Jada, that's what life's about, is being able to have those experiences with my daughter, my wife. Yeah, she is a miracle.
Braxten is an amazing father, and you know, he's built for that too. And that's something that him and I both hold in high regard, is being a good father and a husband.
Braxten, he's a very positive person, and not a lot of times in our marriage have I heard him, I can't even count on one hand how many times he's complained about his accident and what's happened to him and how his body is different, it doesn't work the same.
I'm not one bit surprised he is where he is today. You know, he still can't feel the ground that he walks on, but he's walking on it. You know, that's Braxten.